This is the city water connection. This is where you are going to connect your RV to a campground water supply. This is not where you fill the RV freshwater tank. We have lots of renters that call us up and say, hey, we've been running the water into the city water connection for a half hour, but our tank on the inside of the RV isn't filling up. What's the problem? Well, the problem is you're using the wrong connection. This does not fill the freshwater tank. Now, whenever you're using a city water connection or connecting any hoses to the RV, you must use this pressure reducer. Now, each of the RVs is supplied with one, and all they do is screw in like this, and then you screw your hose into it like so. Once that is in place, then you are safe to turn on the water to the RV. A side note, if you do not have the pressure reducer in place, a lot of campgrounds run at very high water pressure, and the RV is only designed for a rather low pressure point. If you run too high pressure water into the RV, you will blow out all the seals inside the RV and it will start leaking everywhere. So do not install any hoses to the RV without them being connected to a pressure reducer valve. Right next to the city water connection, you have the black tank flush. Now, the black tank flush is used to really thoroughly clean out your black water tank at the end of your trip to make sure that you get rid of all the solids that might be inside the tank. Again, just like the city water connection, you never connect a hose to the black water tank flush unless you first install a pressure reducer valve on one end or the other of the hose. Now, if the water that you are using to flush the black tank flush is non-potable, meaning it's not drinkable, then you do not want to use the same pressure reducer that you used to fill or to connect to the city water connection. Now, the black water tank flush is not entirely necessary to clean the black water tank. It just adds a little bit more of a level of cleanliness and can alleviate some of the foul odors that can emanate from the black water system. So once you've got a pressure reducer installed on the black water flush, you connect the hose to the source at the dump station, and then you can turn on the water to let it start flushing the black water tank. You will hear it flushing the inside of the tank, but it's very important that you not flush the black water tank unless you have opened the valves to the black water tank drain. This avoids accidentally overfilling your black water tank and having raw sewage come up through your toilet and all over the inside of the RV. It can blow seals and be very costly, so never use the black tank flush unless you have opened up the black tank valve underneath the RV to drain the tank. Now on to the dirty part about RVing. You know, we get messages and phone calls from lots of first-time RVers that are very nervous about emptying their black and gray water tanks. And the fact is that although it can be very messy, if you follow a few simple steps, it's really not that difficult and you should avoid any yucky disasters. Now, this is not meant to be a fully immersive how-to on hooking up and emptying a black and gray water tank. There are lots of YouTube videos that you can find online if you need more instruction on how to do this and how to connect to your campsite. But this is just the basics on how to empty the black and gray water tanks. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to locate this pipe with the cap on it underneath the door that we pointed out earlier in the video. You're going to remove this, taking care, because these valves don't always fully seal. So you're going to take care to remove it without getting potential residual coming out of the pipe. Then you're going to take your provided dump hose and you're going to slide it on and twist it clockwise to lock it in place. At this point, this should be sealed pretty good and you should not get any dripping once you open the valves. Now first, you're going to reach back in and take the black water valve. Now it's a good idea to run plenty of water down your toilet so that you get as much water in the tank as possible. Before doing this, it'll help clean out the tank better. But then you're going to pull this valve out and you're going to let it fully empty. If you want to use the black tank flush, you would do that at this time. You would keep this valve open and you would turn on the hose to your black tank flush. After the black tank is fully cleaned out and you can go to the clear elbow that's at the end of the hose, and you see that the water's coming out pretty clear, then you can close the black water valve and open the gray water. The gray water helps to clean out your hose, and so that's why you do that second. You let it run until it's fully emptied, and then you're going to close up that valve, put the cap back on, and you're good to go. Again, if you need more instruction on this, please refer to YouTube, as there are a number of videos that give a deeper explanation on how to do this. One last thing about the city water connection and the black tank flush. These connectors are very fragile. They're just plastic and they can break off really easily. So when you have the hose connected, you don't want to pull on it or stress these valves in any way because you can easily tear them right off the side of the RV. Once these valves are missing, you can no longer use the city water connection or the black tank flush, as there will not be a proper seal. And the only way to repair them is to have a mobile mechanic come out to your site, which can be very costly. In order to use the water system on the RV, there are a couple steps you have to follow. Number one, if you're in an RV park or another area that has full hookups or has water hookups and you've hooked up the city connection outside, then you don't need to follow the steps that I'm going to show you, because once you're hooked up to the city connection, that connection is live all the time. You don't need to turn on the pump. If you do not have a city connection and you are running off of the water that is in your onboard water tank, your freshwater tank, then you have to follow these steps. First, you want to verify that your freshwater tank has water. In this case, we've got 1/3 of a tank. Next, you're going to turn on your water pump. Now, when you do, you're going to listen for it to turn on. It's going to sound like a little thumping, and then it should stop once the line is pressurized. And you shouldn't hear it turn on again unless you turn on a faucet or unless you turn on the shower. If it doesn't stop, it means that there's a leak somewhere in the line. If you have running water somewhere and the pump is not turning on, then that does not mean that there's a leak from one of the pressurized lines. It means that there could be a leak from a drain, and you would have to address that differently than if the pump just continuously ran. Another reason that the pump could continuously run is if it's running out of water and it's picking up more air than water. That's a good indicator that your water tank is empty. So we're going to turn on the water pump. And in this case, because the line is already pressurized, you're not going to hear anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the kitchen sink. We're going to turn it to the cold, and we're just going to turn this on, and you're going to listen for the pump. Hopefully that comes through on the video. This tank is running low, so you have it sputtering.